Since the last time I filmed a video, I finished my second year at MIT. Okay, nobody cares. But I guess that's not really important. What is important is that I learned a lot of things along the way. For example, I learned that if you think your laundry is going to be done, you might just find that someone started on another cycle for no other reason than to make you waste an extra hour of your life. Or that the toilet bowl is like a speed limit on the highway. It's okay to go right past it. Or when you're actively using equipment at the gym, people will still ask you if you're using it as if you're not literally using it right at that moment. Or that the dorm shower curtains are like girls' OnlyFans outfits. Not very good at holding things in, so nothing can save you from getting flooded in other people's germ-filled bathwater. But I've also learned that getting complimented is actually really nice. A well-written card can be more meaningful than an expensive gift, and meeting new people can actually be very interesting. None of which I did, by the way, since there is the fact that if you don't talk to people for multiple weeks at a time because you care more about studying than your health, it leads to the mathematical equation U equals sound. Which leads me to the point of this video. This year I probably worked harder than I've ever worked in my entire life at anything, including the astronomical amount of time I spent in middle school trying to beat my friend's high score in piano tiles.
Man, I haven't played this in quite a while. Alrighty.
And you know what the saying says, practice makes pain, because oh my goodness, after all the work I did, you'd be surprised how many different ways I failed. So in the hopes to improve my life and possibly yours, I'm making this little video to remind myself, and maybe you, that hard work does not pay off. Also, since I may never get the chance to use some of the stuff I learned in the real world, I'm going to use it here for demonstration purposes. So if you start seeing weird physics equations and strange mathematical stuff, don't worry, it's all part of the process. So, if you haven't taken linear algebra or quantum physics yet, you may not know what the equation I just showed you means. But basically, what it says is that if you apply the zero operator on any vector v, then the result is zero. This is the same thing with life. If we imagine our life to be following some vector which tells us the direction that we're going, if we want to transform our life into something new, we must apply some matrix to it. However, if we apply some effort into something that is not actually having any value, the result is not a transformation, but instead zero. People often work hard without ever defining what goals they have in mind or what they're trying to achieve. This means that when they're working at something, they're actually doing nothing at all, and all of this work just nets to something being nothing. The first thing you always want to do is always define your matrix before acting upon any vector. If you know where you are and where you want to change to, you can create some matrix or plan that can get you there, and only then will you be able to see the type of output that you want to see. Or, as we like to say in physics, you have to define your coordinate system before you try and solve a problem. Because if you don't know where you are, then how will you know how much potential you have? The variational principle in physics states that the expectation of the energy will be greater than or equal to that of the ground state, meaning that when we're starting from the bottom, there's only so much we can expect from ourselves. We need to know our bound, or our limit, as x approaches infinity. Using the variational principle in our own life lets us gauge how much we're actually capable of doing. This follows from the previous point. In order to reach our goals, we first must figure out what our bounds are. Willpower is a resource. Some people have more of it than others, just as different potentials have higher or lower ground state energies. But we can train to have more as we go up energy states. But either way, like a PN junction with reverse bias, it can be depleted. And when you do it, it requires forward bias or thinking to make it such that you'll have enough free electrons to create current. Okay, and enough of that stupidity. What I want to talk about is willpower. I like to think of different types of willpower as things that are similar to muscle fibers. So there are first the fast twitch ones, and then second the slow twitch ones. The fast twitch ones give you a blast of willpower for a short amount of time and then reset each day, usually. Then the slow twitch ones give you a certain constant willpower that you can use all the time. The fast twitch ones are responsible for when you have to get a bunch of work done in one day, or you get that spark of inspiration to learn another language for the 100th time and you still don't get it done. But if you burn out the fast twitch willpower, you won't be able to sustain the slow twitch ones, which are responsible for you being able to keep your daily life habits in check. Like eating healthy, working out, keeping your spaces clean, etc. These all become harder if you are using the fast twitch ones for too long, burning out your willpower reserves. It's important to only use the fast twitch ones when you need to get a head start or when you know that you won't have other things to do afterward. So when possible, you have to try and think proactively, such that you can make work a habit that's controlled by slow twitch. In the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, it talks about the urgency and importance scenario chart. utilizing this chart can help you choose to do the work in the quadrant where it's important to not do things urgently all the time, but rather to do the things that are non-urgent but important as much as possible, which allows you to utilize far less energy and utilize more of a slow twitch. All of that to say is that you have to know when you hit your limit, because once you do, it's a major setback. It's better to be able to do a constant flow of work than to be unable to do any work at all when you are too burnt out. Monitor when you start to disassociate from your tasks and be able to know when you can use the fast switch and when you need to take a break or even a vacation. Once you know that, you can handle yourself a lot better and you can keep moving forward. Always minimize the amount of time you spend working. People, especially grinders, often take pride in the amount of work they do, including me. However, just working for more hours at a goal does not mean that you're more likely to achieve it. We should always seek the minimal amount of time to produce the result we want so we can spend more time doing the things we enjoy. This makes us far more productive and we can start taking the steps to our goal. Although this is an idea that I derived from working way too much this year, I got a lot of insight into this by reading the book The 4-Hour Workweek, which I will reference for some of the other points, including this one. One way to limit the time you work is to put strict time limits on how long you can spend on something. Although you may think that rushing through something would lead to bad results, you'd be right. But allotting just enough time to get something done leads to results that are almost the same as having a long amount of time. It cuts out all the second guessing and the wasting of time. You decide on a way that you want to go and you're forced to do it that way in the best way you can within that time frame. This cuts out all the procrastination and the decision fatigue. Whatever you think of is what goes. It's like Zenitsu in Demon Slayer. He can only do one thing, but he's very good at it. So, whenever you can do something in the minimum amount of time, do it. And secondly, never do more work than you have to, and absolutely never should you work meaninglessly. So how do we actually do this? Well, the first step into applying these is the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. The Heisenberg uncertainty principle states that you can only know the position and momentum of a particle at the same time to a certain limit. This means that you can't know with 100% accuracy the position and momentum of a particle at the same time. In a similar way in life, it would seem that you can't simultaneously be smart and have common sense. I mean, my goodness, I swear, just like in quantum physics, this is just a fact of nature and not one that can be controlled. Geniuses are stupid, and I don't know why, but they are. And I mean, you should see the
2 hours later.
Okay, back to what I was saying, but I completely forgot what I was saying. But man, I keep thinking about it. Like, I mean, it's just so
8 hours later.
Oh, alright, this holds for more than just being smart and having common sense. In general, people can't be good at everything at the same time. We can't expect ourselves to be masters of everything. And because of this, it is important to acknowledge your strengths and weaknesses in yourself and in others. That is what humility is. Everyone is good at something. It is a simple fact of going through your unique life experiences. Even bad experiences can give you insight that other people don't have. So don't think that you're not good at anything. You just have to figure out what that thing is. You need to stop focusing on where you are right now and move to where your momentum is taking you. Once you know that uncertainty there is between the two operators in your life, then you can start making better decisions about how you use your time. In the 7 habits of highly effective people, one of the habits you should keep is outsourcing when possible. This follows directly from the last point that I mentioned. Once you acknowledge what you're good at, the next thing to do is to find out where you can get help with the things that you're not as good at, or the things that you are good at but don't have the time to do. When outsourcing, it is important to remember that the point is not to do the work, or to minimize the amount of time you do spending struggling through it. This means that for things that you are trying to figure out but can't, don't spend more time than you need. I usually give myself about 30 minutes to an hour of time depending on how difficult the task is to attempt it on my own. If in that time I can't figure it out using all the knowledge that I have access to at the time, then it's time to ask myself, is this something that other people may know how to do? Don't waste time endlessly trying to figure something out. Chances are that you are not the preeminent source in your field, so even though you may not know it, there is going to be someone else who does. Take advantage of that and ask people for help. Don't make them do it for you. Ask people how to walk yourself through it. How do you think about it, and how can you do it again in the future? Then for the things that you do know how to do, ask yourself the reverse question. Are there things that only I or a few people know how to do? In this case, it's best to do the things that only you, an expert, can do and offload the things that other people can do to other people. Don't be standing over their shoulder while they're doing it. That doesn't actually save you any time. Find people you can trust to do the job and let them do it. When people feel that you can trust them, then they often do it better than if you were basically just doing it yourself. Give people autonomy and give yourself more time. Finally, for the things that you are really good at, lean into those things. Those are your unique assets, and once you've discovered that about yourself, you should be able to utilize it to your fullest and get to the places where you want to go. I know. I'm sorry, this one's a bit stupid, but I ran out of cool math ideas. Geez. Anyway, the point for this one is that 2 is greater than 1. But also 3 is, and I think 4 is 2, but I'll have to check on that one. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is that it's easier to work together than to work alone. People often seclude themselves when work gets hard, but that is the absolute worst time to do it. People are often more successful when they have good people helping them out. Not only is it better for your mental health, but it's also better for your work. Find people that complement your skills or are just generally nice to be around. If you have the opportunity to work with other people, even if you aren't working together, just simultaneously working, do it. I guarantee you it will give you the extra boost that you need to get the work done. Not to mention, positive peer pressure can make you work even harder than what you would have been able to do alone. Social connections are one of the largest indicators of success in many areas. In the book, The Happiness Advantage, Aker mentions 2 finds that I thought were really quite profound. 1. The happiest 10% of people, happiness is largely attributed to the strength of their social connections. And 2, a study by IBM found that every extra email contact a person had, it made them an extra $948. Having friends of a decent sized network is not a bad idea. Just go check it out. My final point of advice is always be willing to try a solution. People often work at things they know a lot about, but never actually try the things that they're not accustomed to. This leads people to not actually go in the direction that they want to go. When you see advice that resonates with you, go and try it. Even if you can do it that day, then do it. Really give it a try. Don't just try it for a day and say it didn't work. Actually give it some time, and you may be surprised that it actually works. People read self-help books every single day, but how many of them actually go and implement the tips into their own lives and take risks? Not many. Most people think, oh, that book was so obvious, I could have written the book myself, or that worked for them but definitely wouldn't work for me. And sure, maybe both of those things may be true, but they could also be completely wrong. Jim Rohn once said, we must all suffer from one of 2 pains, the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. The difference is discipline weighs an ounce while regret weighs tons. Don't let that be you. It's a 2-dimensional complex vector space, and just like spin, it is a superposition until we actually go and test it. Just go and try it. The worst that can happen is that you invest all your money into crypto because of a Reddit post and end up losing all of it along with your house, your car, your kids, and most importantly, your dignity. So yeah, I mean, pretty much any decision that you make that uses more than the one brain cell that collectively is shared by all Twitter users will probably lead to a better outcome than that. So don't be afraid to try. What is important is not that you achieve your massive goal right away, but you set up the steps so that you can make meaningful, small achievements toward it each and every day. But more on that in another video, hopefully. Bonus, no solution. Sometimes you can't avoid the work, and that is a part of life. Anything worth having requires sacrifice, but you have to remember that in those moments when you feel like you want to stop, time never does. So the pain will eventually end and you'll be on the other side. If you're listening to this right now, then your track record of making it through difficult times is 100%, and that is pretty amazing. So remember, when you're having a terrible Tuesday, in 24 hours, you can start a wonderful Wednesday. All right, now that I have hopefully filled you with some of my knowledge and fulfilled some of your knowledge debt, stop wasting your time and start working. But not too hard. I mean it. Okay, bye.